Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Luca Motel and I'm a traditional artist based in Wisconsin, USA. And today we're doing MerMay Day 13. Day 13 is candy and seaweed. So to start off, I'm using masking fluid to mask off the mermaid for candy. I'm using Pebeo blue masking fluid. And masking fluid just prevents the paint from getting under what it's on top of, so the mermaid in this case. And of course I dropped some on the page where I didn't want it. But that's okay, you can deal with it pretty easily. See, voila. So for the background, I'm using some Emily Grace paint. She's a Etsy seller who makes paint, handmade paint. I'll of course link the store down below. Here I am doing a second layer just to darken it. I'm using an Artex cold press sketchbook and it works with masking fluid really well, so it doesn't tear up when masking fluid or tape, like, at all. So for this mermaid, I really wanted to make the skin areas and the fin of the tail look like gummy candy, like a gummy bear, transparent and reflective. And then for the tail and the hair, I'm going for another gummy candy, gummy worms, but they don't reflect light or transparent at all. They compare it to the gummy bear, they just have a lot of sugar on the top, so then lots of little white dots. Well, I guess it depends on what kind of gummy worm you get, because there are transparent ones, but whatever. That's not the one I'm going for here. I'm using white watercolor to add some highlights in. And this is viewed as a watercolor sin and you're never supposed to do it, but I don't believe in rules for art. Watercolor is obviously transparent, so you have to do a couple layers if you want the white to be really opaque. But I didn't want it to be super opaque, so this was perfect for me. Now I'm adding the colors for the tail, and I'm letting them blend together wet into wet. Now I'm adding a yellow base to the hair, and I'll go over this with the other colors, but yellow is pretty light and transparent, so it doesn't affect the other colors too much. Personally, I really like how Candy came out. I think that they look great. And yeah, I'm pleased with it for once. It's not my favorite, but it's certainly not my least favorite either. To be fair, I also liked the sketch to begin with, so I wasn't setting myself up for failure. I'm adding minty green eyes because I just love green, especially mint green. Now here comes the tedious part, adding all the whites. So I'm doing highlights on the body to really make it look all reflective and juicy. And then on the hair and the tail, I'm adding a bunch of white dots to emulate that sugar-coated look. And this takes a while, but I think it's so worth it. I'm using Daler Rowney FW ink, acrylic ink in a pen, and it could be more opaque, certainly, but it's still good. I prefer it to Posca because I can actually refill it instead of just wasting plastic over and over. Now I'm moving on to seaweed, and I'm masking off the mermaid once again. This one was a little trickier because I was painting seaweed everywhere and it overlaps the mermaid in some areas and the mermaid is behind it in some areas, so I still actually had to negative paint, but for the background base color I didn't want to deal with it, so I just masked it off again. But later when I'm doing the seaweed, I don't use masking fluid, I use negative painting. So now I'm using another Emily Grace paint mixed with a blue, just to make it a little less yellow-green. And now I get to paint in all the seaweed, which was kind of therapeutic. Some areas go in front, some areas go behind, some areas overlap. It's fun. And it made for a really fun effect on the mermaid. It was a little tedious, but like I said, therapeutic still. Especially because I love plants and green is like my favorite color, so love it. I really like how this one turned out as well. Especially because I wasn't that pleased with the sketch. It was just kind of meh, but it turned out really well in the end. I'd love to know if you prefer having topics behind art videos rather than just talking about the art. And if you do, let me know of any topics you're interested in, and I'll talk about them. I love to yap. So here you can see some of that layering going on that I was talking about earlier that I really like the effect of. The seaweed did kind of take forever. So I decided to make the tail of the mermaid red because red and green are complementary colors, and it really makes the mermaid pop. I'm loving the effect of the layering here. Cannot get enough of it. Even though I had to negative paint, which I hate doing. Here I'm adding blushing. It's all the parts I like to blush. And now some shading. Just some really basic shading, nothing too fancy. Now I'm doing a basic brown for the hair. I wanted to do orange hair because I love doing ginger, but there was already red and I didn't want it to compete. So I went with a nice brown. Dark enough to pop still and draw your eye to the face, but not too much to distract. Now I'm doing some lining just to make areas pop out. And some highlights. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and hope to see you again. Bye-bye.